Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Old age is coming at a really bad time. I don't trip over things anymore. I just do random gravity checks. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. We need a patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Monday. Good morning. Oh, good morning, and welcome to the Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Thank you for the great job they do. And, of course, our thanks also to some of our advertisers, including Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Get rid of your garbage. Call them at 734-6969. And our thanks to Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida and Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch. Everything at Valley Wide Home and Ranch. Right now, let's say good morning to our Pledge of Allegiance person. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb.
Go ahead, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How are you doing this morning, by the way?
I'm doing fine. How are you, sir?
Well, I am a little bit weary from last week being on the road all week long, but it's so nice to be back here in the studio, and I want to say thank you very much for calling in. That meant a lot. Thank you.
Thank you for what you do, sir.
God bless you, sir. Thank you much. Oh, my goodness, we got to get the weather on there right now. Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Hey, like I was telling you, Whitney sent me a note, and she said they're going to be hosting a community garage sale on August the 8th. That is right around the corner from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you'd like to reserve a 10x10 spot, you'd better call them today at 678-6945. Everything for your home, whatever you need to make your house a home at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we kick off the final work week of July. And honestly, today is not going to be that great of a day. Doesn't even feel like summer, really. Winds out of the west, 20 to 30 miles an hour, 60% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms throughout the day. Only a high of 68 tonight, expect a low near 42. Now, tomorrow, going to be completely different. Winds are going to die down out of the southwest to about 5 miles an hour. Sunny skies, high of 74 with an overnight low of 44. And as we make our way through the week, it's going to get warmer. Wednesday, sunny and 83. Thursday, sunny and 90. By Friday, could see sunny and mid-90s. That's your weather forecast for Zebedee.
Gina, good job. Thank you very much. Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, all your home decor methods and means right there at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Look for the blue door, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, or call them at 678-6945. Also, we got a lot of things cooking this week. A lot of things on the air. Some really interesting and informative guests on the program this week. So don't miss a minute of it, as we also want to remind you about Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Cindy. Hello, everybody. And dry cleaning restores and keeps the life of your garments. And I tell you what, I am so grateful for the great job they do. on my shirts and my Wranglers and everything. They do a fantastic job. So please stop in and visit with the best dry cleaners in the world, Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. By the by, we are very appreciative right here at Zeb at the Ranch, and Goober more so than me, because of SafeLink Internet. Boy, do we use that a lot. SafeLink Internet, 677-8000, the number to call. Idaho's number one choice for wireless internet, and the first month free, plus free installation, no contracts, no credit checks, unlimited data. You get a hold of them today. Tell them Zeb sent you at 677-8000, SafeLink Internet. Really good folks. You know, there's somebody I forgot to mention a minute ago, and I know he's standing there waiting for me to say something, and I got to remember to say this. Ted's Diesel and Electric is moving. Yeah, old buddy Doug Martin. Yep, they're moving, listen to this carefully, to 635 21st Street in Heyburn, right there on Alfresco Road. Yep, old Doug's loading things up and moving. I'll tell you what, better location to serve you. And Doug can rebuild starters, alternators, generators, everything from lawnmowers clear to choo-choo trains. I mean, he can do anything, and he sells brand new, too, at Ted's Diesel and Electric, moving to 635 21st Street in Heyburn. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. As I mentioned in the opening, what a busy week Deanne and I had last week. Holy smokes, we had to run down to Utah on Tuesday. And I was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And then we had to run up to Salt Lake the next morning to be at the University Hospital. Then we had to run home and do a quick program here on Thursday. And then run to Nampa and do the Extreme Mustang Makeover for the weekend. It was go, 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 but we had a wonderful time. And that Extreme Mustang Makeover, really something to see. I mean, these trainers only had those wild Mustangs for 100 days. That's it. 100 days prior to the event to get them shipshape and show ready, and it was unbelievable. The job that some of them have done on those Mustangs, unbelievable, and my hat's off to them. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm going to give you a quick look at the news and some of the news items that are making the news this morning. But first and foremost, I want to remind you about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Yep, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Yes, sirree, Bob. They've got all your electrical needs, all your heating needs, all your air conditioning needs right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric. So you stop in, and whatever you need, you can call beforehand at 678-0459, and they'll have it waiting for you. They open at 7:30 till 5, Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Really good folks. And also, speaking of great folks, I want to remind you about our friends at Valleywide Home and Ranch. I don't care if you just need a bucket. I don't care if you need a lead shank. I don't care what you need. They've got it for you over there at Valleywide Home and Ranch. And, well, wait a minute. You're going to be showing your sheep or your steer or your horses. Well, they've got all your clothing, too. All your boots, all your Wranglers, all your jeans, shirts, everything at Valleywide Home and Ranch. And by the way, the 4-H'ers get a 10% discount over at Valleywide. And they got all the bug and fly spray. Holy cow, those things are clinging on everybody right now. So don't forget, they have everything at Valleywide Home and Ranch. Yep, for the farm, the home, and the ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert, it is Valleywide Home and Ranch. Okay, let's go real quick through some of the news items this morning. Donald Trump way out in front of other GOP candidates, leads with a 21% margin of approval right now. And the closest one is 14% behind him. And then you have the nitpickers. Then you have the ones way down in the basement that are doing most of the yelping and the squelping and everything else. And those are guys like, I'm going to sneeze in a minute. I can feel it coming on. And when I do, you're going to go, gotcha. Anyway, Rick Perry from Texas, he's only at 3%. He's been doing so much of the sniping against Donald Trump and denigration of Donald Trump. And then, of course, one of the worst ones, Lindsey Graham, 1%. A presidential hopeful, Lindsey Graham, at 1%. And we're going to be talking quite a bit later on this morning to Dr. Gerard Lamero from back east about Donald Trump and the aura and the acceptance of Donald Trump right now. And it's really unbelievable how he is at 21% and leading all the other candidates like Jeb Bush and hopefully Jeb Bush. I don't want Bush to see anything to do with the presidential nomination. Scott Walker, he's even ahead of him by a substantial margin. So we'll see what's going to happen. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, I want to remind you about our good friends at Denny's Restaurant. Oh, my goodness sakes. We are so glad that we moved our lunch bunch over there, and the food is fantastic. The people are so friendly and so helpful, and I urge you to stop in anytime, all the time you're hungry, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Just look at that menu and you'll start to drool. It'll make you hungry. It's so good. Thomas and Terry and the rest of the crew at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley. And then don't forget, they've got a new location, you better believe it, at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Great food for you and the family, all your friends and neighbors at Denny's Restaurant. Well, good morning, caller. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Zeb.
Hi, Keith.
Good to hear you again.
Thank you.
You know, this deal about Donald Trump, it's a phenomenon. I've never seen anything like that in my 78 years and I've always been politicking since I was about 21. I decided that I wanted to become a Republican or, lean that way. And I was one of those who did not care for John Kennedy. And I was a Nixon man. And, and I've just been pretty well a Republican all the way. Now we have Donald Trump, who's leading the pack. And some people are saying, hey, he's really a Democrat. Hey, he gives money to Hillary's campaign. He did this, he did that, and everything. I'm getting to where I don't care about what party he belongs to. I want results.
Well,
what do you think?
I think actually you've touched a very raw nerve with America right now. It's unbelievable as to how Trump has overcome obstacles that have been thrown in front of him, whether it's the immigration issue, whether it was John McCain, it doesn't make any difference. The main key is, and I've talked to a lot of people on the East Coast that work for various political think tanks, and the main key to Trump's success is that he is not a politician. He is very blunt. He's very arrogant. He's a businessman that doesn't take any guff from anybody. And that is the aura of his great success so far. Now, whether it lasts, I don't know. But I will tell you this. It's going to make the other GOP members running for president stand up at attention and address the issues. And I'll tell you what's going to happen on this debate. This debate that's coming up in a matter of days with Trump up at the podium, it's going to make the other ones toe the line and answer questions very bluntly and honestly, where in other times they would have tried to poo-poo the issue and not give a straight, direct answer.
That is correct. This Lindsey Graham, he reminds me of milk toast. And I mean the soggy kind. He just doesn't have any fire in his belly.
Well, none of them do. None of them do, Keith. Look at all the list of these candidates and the same old. And one guy that just absolutely has turned so repulsive to me is Mitch McConnell. He's not running for president, but it's just his lack of leadership, his lack of standing up, his lack of calling it what it is. That is the gist of the entire Republican Party right now. I think each and every one of them need a cold bucket of water in the face to get a wake-up call and start acting like who they really are.
You know, another one that really sounds good when he's talking is Mike Huckabee. Mm-hmm. Well, he has his own show, you know, and everything. And he has everything his way. And he talks a good plan, but you back him into a corner and I'll tell you what, Donald Trump's going to chew him up and spit him out.
Well, and that's why I'm waiting. I don't care what I've got planned on that evening of the debates. It's going to get canceled. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to watch that. I'm going to take notes. I'm going to record it and everything else, because I will stick my neck out right now and say that he is going to be so dominant. He is going to be so domineering in that debate that the others are going to be totally intimidated.
The only other one that I really respect and everything is Scott Walker.
I do too, but I think Scott Walker also better be ready to stand toe-to-toe with the Donald. I'm not advocating Donald Trump. I'm not saying he's going to win the nomination or anything else, but I'm saying he's brought politics out of the sewer, I think, of the same old, and he's elevated it to the point where these guys have got to start answering questions.
Well, the thing I like about the Donald is he's a businessman, and he doesn't throw money at something that's not going to work.
I agree. Keith, I got to run and do a commercial. Thank you so much. God bless you, man. Thanks.
You bet.
All right, sir. Yep, Donald Trump, 21% right now. The only poll that he doesn't lead right now, and I think that's going to change in the next 48 hours, is the Iowa poll. And Scott Walker was ahead in that, but I think that's subject to change, maybe, like I said, in the next 48 hours. Minute Cash Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley with Zach and the rest of the crew. These are nice people. Really, really nice people. And they bring you Dr. History on Tuesday mornings at 10:06. I love that segment. And, of course, Minnecash Sales with all your lumber and all your upgrades on your windows with the Western Windows to save on your heating and cooling bills. Oh, they've got it all, including the Tartar Farm and Ranch gates and panels. They've got everything for you at Minnecash Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. In Stone County, Missouri, I want to get this story out to you. In Stone County, Missouri, the sheriff cars for the county sheriff's department have a bumper sticker right underneath the license plate that says, "In God We Trust." Oh! The atheists and the hate religion groups are coming out of the woodwork. Oh, they're mad. Take that off those cars. Take that off immediately. Sheriff said, no. The sheriff said, no. And I mean no. It stays. The citizenry in general and in great numbers in Stone County, Missouri, have said, leave the bumper stickers on the back of the cars. In God we trust. And no small group with a very big mouth of atheists and anti-religionists are going to change it. The sheriff was on TV this morning, and they asked him at 4:35 this morning on the news, well, what are you going to do? I mean, this is upsetting some people, and, they want it taken off. And he looked right at the camera, and he says, I'm mad. And they're going to stay on the cars. And the sheriff said, it's on our currency that we handle every day. It's on all of our money, and God we trust. And our citizens in Stone County, Missouri want it, on our cars. In God we trust. And he said, it's going to stay. Now, that's the attitude that I like. These squeaky little wheels, these squeaky little mice and rodents that come out and say, I don't like that. You got to stop that. You got to take that down. You can't do that anymore. Want to bet? Go back under your rock and live a very dark life. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Like to hear from you. Hey, but don't forget our friends at Barry Equipment and Rental. Wow, I really appreciate these people. We had Eli on the phone with us last week, and they are busy. I mean, man, they've got all the skid steers, new and used, and they've got all the Doosan loaders. They've got all the Coyote tractors. They've got everything for you. They've got all the equipment you need to get the job done right, and 3 locations to serve you: Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Barry Equipment and Rental. And they've got it all for lease or purchase at Barry Equipment and Rental. Check out that new location right there at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Barry Equipment and Rental. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Here is another story that is almost unbelievable. But we warned you on this program about 6 months ago that this idiocy would start to creep up around the country. A Florida man is in his backyard barbecuing. And all of a sudden he gets a knock on the door. And he goes to the door of his house, and there stands a county worker with a notepad and a ticket pad in his hand. And he tells the guy that is barbecuing in his backyard that he was driving down the street, and some of the odors and the smoke from his backyard barbecue alerted him that his smoke and the odors of his cooking were going over his property lines, and that's not at all acceptable. And he's going to write this guy a ticket. Now, this is laughable, I know. And this is one that we go, ha, 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 big deal. Nah, they'd never write. It's coming this way. It's coming this way. The guy actually wrote the barbecuer a ticket. He's using it's not some great big humongous grill. It's a backyard barbecue. He had hamburgers and some hot dogs on the grill. And they wrote him a ticket because the smoke and the odors from the grill, and by golly, it smells so good, were going off of his property line, and the city down there in Florida wrote him a ticket. Now, personally, what he should have done with that ticket, maybe he did, is wadded it up and used it for more fuel for his barbecue fire. I cannot believe the idiocy that's going on in this country thanks to an unleashed and mad as a junkyard dog EPA. And it's going to get worse. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And we're going to have a little bit of the Capital Press Ag Minute in just a moment. Old Wheels over at the station. And we're going to tell you about Mount Harrison Audiology. With their wellness hearing program, free annual hearing screenings, and you can discuss any concerns you have about your hearing, and they can review all your medications, which may be contributing to your hearing loss. I know that for a fact. Well, listen, hearing loss is not normal. It's not an age problem. No, it's not. Let the lovely lady Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, make sure that you're hearing what you should hear. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, 312-0957. Here now, the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Domestic bulb onion prices have risen rapidly and fallen below break-even levels this winter. Bulb onion prices were at depressed levels last fall and got worse through the winter, falling as low as $4 for a 50-pound bag of jumbos, says Kay Riley, manager of Smith River Produce and Onion Shipper. That's below break even and does not really cover production on the farm, he says. But there was a big reduction in supply, and the markets improved dramatically. Prices have increased rapidly since March, and now are at $16 a bag. Onion growers in southwestern Idaho and in eastern Oregon, the nation's largest onion-producing region, are hopeful prices will still be robust when they start shipping this year's crop in the fall. For the Capital Press Ag Minute, I am Raul Peña.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate that. And Mount Harrison Audiology bringing you the Capital Press Ag Minute right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. The number to call for a hearing screening, do it today, do not put it off, is 312-0957. You know what we're going to do right now? We're going to give away some cinnamon rolls. Yes, sir, Bob. And we do this every Monday, thanks to our dear friends at Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. Delicious half-dozen cinnamon rolls. Oh, man, they're good. They're big, they're huge, they're soft, they're juicy, they're delicious. Oh, my goodness. And all you have to do is answer a question. And this is an easy question, and I may have asked this one way long time ago, but we're going to ask it again. In the National Football League, one team does not have a logo on its helmets, and one other team only has a logo on one side of their helmets. Name the two teams, and you will be the winner of Sophie's Chatterbox Delicious Cinnamon Rolls. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And if you won before, you are ineligible. If you're a first-time caller, come on, get on the phone and call me at 436-2244. Sophie's Chatterbox, and by the way, all you have to do is just call them and let them know when you're ready to come down and pick them up. And caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Is it the Browns and Buccaneers?
No.
Oh.
And you close but no cigar. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Now, I want to make sure that it's clear. Part of his answer may have been correct, but we're going to talk and see what the next caller is. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Talk to me, caller.
Maybe they got me.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Okay, I didn't call for the contest.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll talk to you later then, Jerry. Thank you. I appreciate it. Calls are welcome, 436-2244. And again, in the NFL, one team does not have a logo on its helmets, and another team only has one logo on one side of their helmets. Name the two teams for the cinnamon rolls. Come on, give me a call quick. It's easy. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Got the Browns and the Steelers.
All right, but which one's which? I'm not going to let you off that easy. Which one is which?
The Browns don't have anything, and the Steelers have it on one side.
Who is this?
This is Steve Torrey.
Spell your last name for me, Steve.
Torix.
I'll tell you what, you are the winner, and you call Sophie's and tell them when you're coming by to get your cinnamon rolls, okay?
All right, I'll do it.
All right, buddy, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. That's right. The Cleveland Browns do not have a decal or logo on their helmets, and the Pittsburgh Steelers only have one side. There you go. There's the winners. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you giving us a call. That is correct. All right, now more calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call about anything we've talked about so far this morning, and I've got another subject I want to get into in just a moment, so give us a jingle on the landline. While I'm waiting for your calls that I know are coming in, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Nick Greenwell, Physical Therapy Therapist and all the physical therapists, absolutely caring to help you get back to being you. Yep, friendly staff, comprehensive services, all the sports medicine, all the exercises, hydrotherapy pool with the treadmill in the bottom. I don't care if you're 6 months old or 96, they can help you at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-1191. You get a hold of them today. All right, give me a jingle. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. As you know, there has been a lot of discussion lately about the CSI refugee program. There has been a lot of discussion lately about how, and it is not true that all of these refugees are vetted to 100%, knowing who they are, what they represent, etc. Caller, will take your call, and then I'll finish what I was saying. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Well, I just wanted to make a comment about the Republicans, or so-called conservatives. They are just playing right into the hands of the Democrats, and they're looking for a loss. And Mitch McConnell, though, when they put him back in as he's not the Speaker of the House anyway, the Majority Leader, he's such a milquetoast. He is such a milquetoast. I can't even believe that they even re-elect him in that state.
Well, Mitch McConnell is, he's like a little worm on the ground on a hot summer day. He just wriggles around and goes any which way. He's never been a favorite of conservatives in any way, shape, or form. And he had a chance to help defund Planned Parenthood, and then he stood up and said, well, no, let's not do that. He's so wishy-washy. I was against him when he was put in that position. I'm against him even more now. I don't like the man.
No, I don't either. And I think that the Republicans don't know what to do with him, and yet I guess he's earned this high honor. And then the other thing is, I think that what's his name? The rich guy. Anyway,
Donald Trump.
I think that he is a spoiler. I really do. And yet, he's the only one saying what we want to hear.
Well, Chris, wait a minute. Let's just stop and think about this for a minute. Who had the backbone to come out and say, we're going to build a fence and Mexico's going to pay for it and we're going to start regulating who comes into this country so that we, the American taxpayers and citizens, can protect ourselves? Who said that?
Trump.
All right. And what is the Obama administration and the Bush administration before them, and then the Clinton and Bush 1? I mean, there's never been any straight talk about protecting our borders and protecting us, the citizens. It's always been more caring for those that are illegal aliens coming into this country. And I salute Trump for standing up and saying it like it is.
I do too. And the other side of this equation is, how do they treat Americans if they happen to go into Mexico illegal?
Well, look at that Marine.
They don't roll out the red carpet.
Look at the Marine that made a wrong turn at the border and spent all those months in prison when this is just almost comparable to Iran. Here you have a third world country, and as is Iran, and I hope it stays that way. And I think our government should have said, excuse us, to the president of Mexico, you have one of our Marines. He made a wrong left turn. You are letting everybody come in and pilfer and just absolutely take everything from American soil with a porous border. Now send him home right now. The same with Iran. They should have sat down, and John Kerry should have hitched up his pants a little bit and acted like a big boy and said, we're not going to negotiate anything with you on an Iranian nuclear deal until you let our people out of prison. We don't have the guts and the backbone anymore.
Well, at least the people that we send out to do the negotiating, they don't have any. I don't know what they think about our country. We might as well handle it over. And I think I mean, really, it's time to shake up the Senate and the House of Representatives, because they love their jobs. and they're not doing anything.
I agree. I wouldn't mind it all today. And I mean this honestly. I wouldn't mind it all today if all of a sudden the House and the Senate all of a sudden were vacated and every one of them had to be out of there. Fired. Clean your desk. You're gone. And we replace them with common Joe Blow citizens. And I will tell you something, Chris. You would see more concern for the common man. You would see more concern for the problems in this country. You would see more concern for America being better and best. There is so much of this under-the-table graft and corruption right now. I'm sick of it.
I am too. I just don't recognize my country.
You brought up a really good point. You don't recognize this country. Now, that's not saying that you don't love this country, and I don't love this country, but I'll guarantee you one thing. I am fed up to the hilt with the lack of leadership with this absolutely pathetically poor amateur administration with Obama. And I'll say this. In the next year and a half, we ain't seen nothing yet.
That's what I'm expecting, and that is even more scary. Well, thank you for what you do.
God bless you. Thank you. All right. Bye. Take care. God bless. Thank you. Nice lady right there. I started to say this a moment ago, and I mean this. The Times News in Twin Falls absolutely, I think, has stepped on its own tail. And the editorial they had on the front page of the paper yesterday really teed me off, and I'll get into that momentarily when we were talking about the refugee center and all these refugees coming in from Muslim countries. We'll talk about that in a minute. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, I was reading in the Capital Press about this water. They got a special on a drought, and then on the same issue, we were talking about how the EPA is going to how they rewrote this rule, the Clean Water Act, and it was published on the 28th of June and will be enacted on at the end of August. And it's already, before it's even been enacted, however it's going to be enacted, it's already got at least 10 lawsuits against it because it's intentionally vague, and then the people out in the field are going to just pick and choose what they decide to enforce and what they don't enforce. And in a situation across the West where it is the drought situation, these sorry SOBs are out here making life hard on people who feed us. And you say to yourself, when do we stop these people from doing this to us?
You know, and what it's going to boil down to, Randy, and you were listening, this has been about a year ago now, to the gentleman in Wyoming that built a farm pond, a little farm lake, and he had all the improvements from the state of Wyoming, and he built this beautiful little farm lake so that he could swim and they could do a little water recreation. It would service the wildlife in the area. It would also help service water for his livestock. The EPA come in, and remember, they were going to fine him something like $7,000 a day and or more. And the idiocy of letting the EPA have that kind of power. I guarantee you that if you go out in your backyard and dig a little hole, let's say you dig a 3x3 hole and fill it with water, and somebody finds out about it from the EPA, they're probably going to come by and write you up a ticket for taking water or using waterways on your property other than what they deem necessary and legal. This is getting so critical, and we laugh at it, but it's happening.
I'll tell you what. Like I said the other day, it was like Hitler. Well, since we've elected this anarchist, it's been like Hitler through Poland.
That's true.
He has stomped us flat, and in spite of it, we're still hanging in there. But you see, can you imagine what it would be if we actually had some help?
Well, let's end this on a little bit lighter note, but it shows the ambiguity of how stupid this administration is. You know, when you talk about the water and you talk about the EPA, let's go back to what I was talking about 25 minutes ago with the guy in Florida that's barbecuing in his backyard, not bothering anybody. His family's there. They're having a little barbecue, and some nincompoop from the city goes up and gives him a ticket because the smoke and the odors from his barbecue were going off his property. How dumb is that?
Well, it's overreach at a communist level is what it is. And so, if you have in this act, it talks about a bed, a bank, and a high water mark. And if they can find one, even though there's no water in it, that's navigable waters. Now, I don't know what you're going to navigate that with, but I'm going to tell you, it's just, think about it. The other day we were talking about Benghazi or whatever. Think of all the things that have yet to be resolved, and we're already here. We got Cuba, and then we've got Obama in Kenya, his birthplace, over there talking about gay rights or something. This guy is on a terror, and you're right. He's not going to be stopped until he's the bully in the school that just runs around, and he just gets, every day he gets worse and worse and worse, and somebody's going to have to, what.
Well, I tell you what I'm really concerned about is the EPA and their encroachment on everyday people that are trying to make a living, everyday farmers and ranchers that are trying to pay their bills and put forth a product for the consumption of people all over the world. I am fed up with the EPA and their absolutely mafioso style of trying to regulate and demand. Randy, I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. God bless. Calls are welcome, and right now we'll do the weather forecast, and then we'll take some more of your calls. Don't forget, the weather this hour is brought to you by Mad River Laser. Have you been in there? Do you know what she does? I mean, they can do anything. All your logos for your businesses and on your jackets and your caps and your T-shirts and sweatshirts, and oh my goodness, they can do anything in there. I have had her do work for me, business cards, everything at Mad River Laser. She is the best. Who am I talking about? Nicole, and her staff at Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert, right on the square. You stop in and see them today. Right now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we kick off the final work week of July. And honestly, today is not going to be that great of a day. Doesn't even feel like summer, really. Winds out of the west 20 to 30 miles an hour, 60% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms throughout the day. Only a high of 68 tonight, expect a low near 42. Now, tomorrow, going to be completely different. Winds are going to die down out of the southwest to about 5 miles an hour. Sunny skies, high of 74 with an overnight low of 44. And as we make our way through the week, it's going to get warmer. Wednesday, sunny and 83. Thursday, sunny and 90. By Friday, could see sunny and mid-90s. That's your weather forecast for Zep at the Ranch.
Appreciate it, Gina. Thank you very much. Mad River Laser at 502 East Street in Rupert. You stop over and see her today. Good morning, Nicole. I hope you have a wonderful day. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, I looked at our house in Sandwood up there, and I think, what in the hell is this country going to? Them guys are sitting up there and doing nothing for us. I don't know why we're paying them. What are they doing? They aren't accomplishing anything. We've got an open border. We've given in to Iran.
Well, let me just jump. Yes, we are, Fred. And let me just say this. I don't care if it's about our porous borders and letting illegal aliens come in and anyone else that might have damaging thoughts to the United States. I don't care if it's ISIS coming in here. They are now supposedly in 15 states. What's our government doing? Nothing. I don't care if it's about the IRS and the way that they are absolutely acting like a Gestapo against us. I don't care if it's the EPA. I don't care what it is with any governmental agency. I don't care what it is to protect us. They're not doing their job for us. That's what we hired them for, and I don't care if it's Idaho representatives. I don't care if it's New Mexico, Indiana, or Florida. I want results that they work for their constituents, and I definitely think we need to have a complete overhaul in this country.
We definitely do. You know, we've had a Mexican boy both of our guys have got green cards. And one of them's been with us for 28 years. The other's been here for 26. The one that has been here for 26 years is now in the process of getting his family here. He's got a wife and 2 sons. And he's in the process of getting them here legally.
Absolutely.
And that is the way to do it.
Absolutely.
You don't want to smuggle him across the border. He's taken some time off work here for sort of a slow season, and he's in the process of getting them here legally.
God bless him.
He wants them in the United States, but he wants to do it legally.
God bless him.
Take my hat off.
Absolutely. Fred, thank you so much. I'm stacked up with calls. God bless you, man. It's always good to hear from you, my dear friend. Thank you so much. Thank you. There's a good man right there. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. I presume you saw yesterday's paper.
Well, wait a minute. Whoa, just a second.
Free speech in this country.
Adrian, just a minute. Adrian.
But I'm sorry, but, you know, our politicians are not standing up for us. Our elected people here on the CSI board are not standing up for us either.
Okay, now let me respond here real quick, because this is what I've been trying to get into for the last 15 minutes. The one part of the editorial, the op-ed page story in the paper yesterday that just absolutely infuriated me. And you're going to be on the program with me Wednesday, and we're going to talk more about this. But I'm going to read a quote from that op-ed. It said, quote, "No doubt some trustees," referring to CSI, "are growing tired of hearing the cringe-inducing, misguided rants of a few ignorant souls when it comes to the Islamic religion and the process of relocating refugees." I went through the roof when I read that about a few ignorant souls. I'll tell you why, Adrian. It's people that are concerned. They're not ignorant. And ignorant means that you have a lack of knowledge or you're unaware. No, we are unaware. The College of Southern Idaho is the one that is ignorant over this entire deal. The Times News is ignorant.
And I testified, last Monday, and I can guarantee you they weren't paying attention. They just were they were bored to death. We only had 30 minutes. There were at least 30 people signed up to testify, and only about 9 or 10 of us were able to in the 30 minutes they allotted. They had to get on to more important business.
Yeah.
And then the meeting's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so, some of us have to take time off from work. And some people can't do that are punching a time clock, and so they don't make it convenient for people to be there in the first place. So much for free speech.
We are going to get into this Wednesday in its entirety. I am so livid about the Times News calling people that are concerned, people that have the knowledge of what's been going on in Minnesota, what's been going on in New Jersey, what's been going on in Texas, what's been going on in other states, and how we should be aware of it. But to call people a few ignorant souls, I am absolutely offended by the Times News and the lack of knowledge by CSI.
Well, they're right in the bed, but what part of debt to America from Iran, when they're the kingpin for all the terrorism around the world? We're going to give them $140 billion, supposedly, of this Iranian deal, and who knows how many other side things that are in the secret agreements. And, and so they're going to be able to really increase the amount of terrorism around the world through ISIS and Al-Qaeda and so forth. And so what part of debt to America doesn't the Times News and the Board of Trustees understand?
Well, there's a lot that we need to discuss on this, but I don't have time right now. I got to get a commercial break in, and you and I will go into this in depth on Wednesday. Thank you, Adrian. I appreciate it.
Look forward to it.
Thank you. All right.
Keep up the good work.
The Times News is not my bosom buddy and never will be, but for some that are very concerned about what's happening in this country with the Muslim influence, and there is. And for those of us that want to question what's happening in, like I said, Minnesota, what's happened in Texas, what's happened in New Jersey, what's happened in New York, what's happened in other parts of the country, including Boise, because there is a refugee that's on trial up there right now for possible terrorist activities. And we question this And the Times News comes out and says, no doubt some trustees are growing tired of hearing the cringe-inducing, misguided rants of a few ignorant souls. Come to me and say that. Come to my face and say that. Caller, I'll be right with you. Don't go away. Let me just have 60 seconds here real quick. Don't forget the best tire value promise in the industry with your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Tires, the very best. Like on sale right now for your light truck owners, the Open Country HT. All-season tire, superior handling. Oh, my goodness, and the best in brake service. Professionally trained technicians and premium quality parts. They know brakes. Along with front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. Holy cow, the list goes on. Service always reigns supreme at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, good morning. I've only got a minute. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. You know, these places called sanctuary cities, they're not sanctuary cities. They're actually staging areas for what's going to come here next.
I don't have time to really go into sanctuary cities and my absolute hatred of that terminology, etc., and how we, the American public, are being duped into this acceptance of something that's going to hurt us in the long run. You are 100% right, Tony, and this whole mess in America has got to be cleaned up with our representatives, our senators and our congressmen, and they are not doing the job.
They're asleep on the job.
Amen. Good to hear from you, my friend. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Hey, we've got to take a little break right now, and we'll come back. Next hour, I look forward always on Mondays to have Doug Johnson from Colorado on our program. And then at 9:30, Kerry Kupek with the Alliance Defending Freedom. A lot more to come along on this Monday. You stay tuned. Zeb at the Ranch. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Hour number 2 on a Monday. Kind of a soggy, gray Monday out there this morning. Brighten it up with a smile. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And along with some of our great advertisers like Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valleywide Home and Ranch. And our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always the Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Write that number down at 734-6969. Locally owned and operated. And you know what? Maybe you're going to clean out the basement or the garage or maybe some other part of the property, and you need a great big old dumpster. Or you need a small. They've got the different size dumpsters. And you can fill them up, and of course, then call them and they'll come get them. Absolutely. Really good folks at Western Waste Services. Get on the route service. Have your garbage picked up every week. Locally owned and operated, serving you, Western Waste Services. Oh, and don't forget to our dear friends. Yes, I want to talk about Joel Heward and his staff and family at Henson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. You know, they really care. They really, really care. And when there's the passing of a loved one, they are there to serve you. And by the way, if you need information and you need help and you can't get over to their Rupert location, they can travel to rural towns and churches to help you with all the arrangements, always holding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please call them today, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Henson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Hey, don't forget, Ted's Diesel Electric is moving. Yep, packing up and moving to a brand new location, 635 21st Street in Hayburn, right there on Alfresco Road. our old buddy Doug Martin. Emphasis on old. I'm just kidding, Doug. Moving to a new location to better serve you, and he can rebuild starters, alternators, generators, everything from lawnmowers to great big trains. You better believe it. And he sells new, too, at Ted's Diesel and Electric, moving to 635 21st Street in Heyburn. Good old boy right there. When we talk about good old boys, naturally, somewhere in that sentence, you're going to hear about this next man, and that's Doug Johnson in Colorado. Good morning, Doug. How are you?
Well, good morning, Zeb. How are things in Idaho this morning?
Wet.
Wet?
Yes. Yes, we are getting rain right here as we speak, and it's cloudy, and it's very cool. As a matter of fact, my temperature at the old ranch studio right now is only 57 degrees.
Oh, wow. We had, it was 59 this morning when I got up, but we're supposed to be in the 80s today, so I'd take your weather right now.
All right. Now, Doug, I want to talk to you about a couple of phenomenons this morning. Number one, I absolutely am thrilled, happy, ecstatic. I can toe tap right now on my desk about what Donald Trump is doing to the GOP, what Donald Trump is doing to politics in general. He is drawing people out. He is making them stand up. He is making them be accountable. He is making them answer questions. And I relish the upcoming debate because I think he's going to make a lot of people look really foolish. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think you're right. I think what they're hoping to do with Trump, I'm going to kind of go at this from a little different angle. I think what the plan is, and this will be the people moderating the debate, because Fox certainly doesn't want him in there either. They're very much supporting the establishment. That's the, you can see it in their broadcast. And so from the moderators to the other candidates, I believe what the plan will be is to try and trip him up on specifics. CNN this weekend, Jake Tapper had, Trump called into Jake Tapper's program, and they got into a big thing, and Jake Tapper tried to pin him down, for example, on specifics on immigration, on what he would do with the so-called 11 million who are here illegally. Of course, that number is a very debatable number. And Trump said, we'll get rid of the bad ones. We're going to deport the bad ones, the violent criminals and such. And Tapper kept pushing him, what else are you going to do with them? What do you do with the remaining people? And Trump didn't answer it specifically, other than at one point he did say, this is a big question, it's a big problem we're going to have to deal with. And I think, Tapper and the media, people who are writing about it now, think that was a victory for Tapper. I don't think it was. I think Trump, who does not always say everything on his mind, is simply saying, look, we got to close the border and secure this country first. Then get rid of the bad people in this country who came here illegally. Then we have to decide what to do with the rest. And I think Trump is realistic enough to note and to understand that people like me, Zeb, who I think anybody who's here illegally should be deported, period, end of discussion. But I also understand, and I think Trump understands, and most people understand, that if people have not committed continual serious criminal acts, they're not going to be seen that way, and they're not going to go away. They're going to end up in some way, shape, or form. They're going to stay, whether it be just with legally being here with a green card and no path to citizenship, or, depending on who's elected, a path to citizenship. But I think that the hope in the debates is to trip him up on specifics. But I think he is such a bulldozer, for lack of a better term, that he's just going to bowl everybody over and just keep hitting back on the major points, which is really what campaigns are about. You really can't get specific, and I think it will win him more support from the American people.
You mentioned Jake Tapper. Now, I believe he's with ABC and not CNN. I honestly, he switched.
He was hired away from ABC by CNN about a year ago.
He's now with ABC. I still stand behind that. Jake Tapper.
Interesting, because he has a Sunday show on CNN.
I might be wrong, but I'll tell you what, it doesn't make any difference. I think most of the media, and I will say in defense of Fox, they're Fox and Friends in the morning. I've listened very carefully. Now, they have segmented shows with other hosts, but I will say in the morning on the Monday through Friday show, they have been very supportive of Trump and his remarks, but I will say there's others with other certain programming that have come out in condemnation, and you can see kind of a bias against him. But in general, I think that Trump has really upended everything to the point where it's open discussion right now, whereas it was tunnel vision before.
Well, I think you're right, and don't get me wrong. There are some conservative people or some balanced people on Fox. Sean Hannity is certainly conservative, even though he can't have more than one person on at a time because you can't understand anybody when they're screaming over each other. But Greta Van Susteren, who's a liberal, is very fair in her reporting. Brett Baer is extremely good. So I think there are some good people there, but I think the overarching view on Fox, and you can see it by the guests they have, the people they pay to be there on a regular basis, people like Karl Rove, and people like that, their whole thrust is for the establishment, and that's where Rupert Murdoch stands. I mean, he is pro-establishment. He supports Jeb Bush, so it's not really a surprise. But I only say that to say that, what I always say, which is this is why it's important for us to look at more than one source of information and weigh things, because it's amazing what we can learn. I mean, the fact that Trump calls into a show on CNN or MSNBC or interviews him or something, those networks get such small viewership, it's ridiculous. I mean, Trump, but the fact that they're there allows us to learn some things about the left that are important.
And look at the situation right now with the polling numbers. Everybody was absolutely ecstatic when they thought Trump was going to fumble the football on the 1-yard line over his statements about Mexico, build the fence, and they will have to pay for it. Then everybody thought that he'd fumbled the football in the end zone over his remarks with John McCain. However, right now this morning he is a 21% favorite over anybody. The closest is 14%. Trump has not been damaged by his very straightforward remarks.
No, actually, I think his support has probably gone up, and I think it's because of a term you just used, straightforward. Americans are sick and tired of people dancing around issues and not speaking straight. They want John Wayne. And this is what Trump, in his own way, is. He just speaks the truth. What he thinks, he doesn't care what people think. And when people come back at him, he just doubles down. And I think Americans look at that and say, that's the America we remember, we know, and we love. That's what we want back. And I think that's his appeal. Is he perfect? Certainly not. But he is a guy who I think is speaking, and this is really critical, he is speaking to emotions, and nothing has more power than speaking to emotions. And right now, the silent majority, the term he used in America, is really fed up. All these people talk about, we need to worry about all the minority votes. And they forget that 70 to 75% of registered voters are still traditional Americans that you and I came from. And I'm not saying just white people. I'm saying people from our background, our upbringing, and we are fed up. And this is on both sides now. I think it's wonderful when we see Democrats and people who aren't involved in politics standing up and supporting Trump, saying, finally somebody with answers. They're fed up too. So I think he's tapping in a way that we have never seen since Reagan. And it's interesting, if anybody pays attention, Jeffrey Lord, who was in the Reagan administration, wrote an article a couple weeks ago about Trump, and it was fascinating, and it was called Yes, Trump Can Win. And he goes back and he pulled all the old quotes that the media and the politicians said about Reagan, and they called Reagan a clown and his followers clowns, and all the same type of stuff they're calling Trump. So we're seeing a very similar repeat of what happened in 1980.
And here's something that I think we should comment on. We talked about it briefly last week on our show. But the other so-called GOP contenders, some of the lower numbered, like Lindsey Graham coming in at 1%, Rick Perry coming in at barely 3%, they are the ones that are doing the most sniping right now for the only reason of trying to get the press, trying to get the media to listen to them, because really they have nothing else to offer. Is that an opinion you would share?
Oh, yeah. I in fact, my blog this week, I talk about the attacks both by the party and by the other candidates. They're not just petty, foolish, and very Democrat-like. They are going to do more damage than they realize. Right now, the party is trying to get Trump out of the debates. They're trying to find a way. They're plotting for it. They've had meetings about it. And what's interesting is that I believe very strongly, and they're trying to position themselves saying that, we're in danger if Trump runs third party, because Trump, if he runs third party, will elect Hillary. Well, my response to that is no. the GOP is about to elect whoever the Democrat nominee is, be it Hillary or whoever, if they don't treat Trump fairly. They don't have to give him the nomination if he doesn't earn it. But if they can't defeat his ideas with the voters, if they can't come up with better solutions with the voters, then they better embrace him, because if they reject him, even if he does not run third party, I believe the American people will say, you know what, then I'm just not going to vote, or I'll go vote for somebody who doesn't have a chance, because I've had it with Democrats and Republicans. I think the Republican Party is literally putting a gun to their own head by the actions they're taking.
You know, and on the other side of the coin, though, we've got to talk about the GOP in general and their no-backbone, spineless, amoebic cell approach to politics, I think being led by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. I find this man to be so disgusting and so lacking of any integrity to get the job done and go on the attack. Would you agree or disagree with me?
Oh, I think you're right, and I'd like to see a change, but it's pretty sad to me that we have politicians who are people who are good people, who are respected people, that are playing this game. And the example I think of so much, I even said it in a blog post recently, is Rick Perry. You know, he's out there saying these things about Donald Trump. And yes, there's a feud going on between the two of them because Trump has attacked his record as governor of Texas in protecting the border and all the hundreds of thousands of crimes by illegals in Texas alone that have happened on Rick Perry's watch when he was governor. And it amazes me because, Zeb, I know you remember when the last go-around for the presidency went and Rick Perry stumbled in the debates. A lot of people attacked him, said, oh, he'll never survive because, you know, he couldn't remember all three things he was going to say. I defended him. A lot of people disagree with me. I defended him saying anybody can make a mistake.
Absolutely.
And not remember something that happens to anybody, and a president has advisors all around him to help him at all times.
Absolutely.
This is not a big deal. But it did kill his campaign because they used it to kill his campaign. And now he is turning and trying to use attacks on another candidate. And to me, it's pretty shallow when a candidate attacks another candidate. If you can't win on better ideas, if what you offer isn't better, and I'll put this in a business sense, because I know you have a lot of people out there who work in business that are your listeners. If your business can't offer something better than your competitor, and the only thing you have to go against your competitor is to attack them, then you don't deserve the business in the first place.
You know, and
you're not going to get it overall.
I totally agree with that, Doug. You and I are on the same page explicitly on this because, you know, what good does it do to tear apart your neighbor, your business cohorts, etc., to make yourself look better when, in essence, all you're doing is digging a bigger hole for yourself?
Well, that's right. And just for the sake of example, let's just, and I don't care what the candidate is, since Ted Cruz has been speaking out, well, I'll use him as an example because he's getting a lot of press right now, although I think that there's going to be problems before it's over. But let's say that, in fact, no, let's not use Ted Cruz because Ted has not disagreed with Donald Trump. He has supported Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's right.
Standing, and I appreciate that. But let's just take somebody who's less known, maybe like Carly Fiorina, who is very interesting as a candidate, and she hasn't said a lot either way about the Trump stuff. But if she were to go out there and come up with positions that weren't quite in agreement with Trump, that had better solutions, that sell better to the American people, and could convince them, and do it through the normal process of making a good presentation of good ideas, I believe Donald Trump loves America enough that he would say, you know what, your numbers are surpassing mine, you're doing great, so I'm not going to get the nomination, but I'm going to support you. I don't think he's going to run third party just because of his ego. I think he's going to run third party because he feels that his ideas are not being given a fair shot and the American people are supporting it. Because every time he talks about running third party, he says, the American people, as long as they're supporting me, if the Republican Party treats me right, fine, but if they don't, then I'd consider it. And so I think this is the point, and this is where the Republicans don't understand. They have to have better ideas.
You know, let's go to the other side, the left or the wrong side of the aisle right now and talk about Hillary Clinton. How? Doug, honestly, I admire you. I respect your knowledge in politics. I respect everything you do or I wouldn't have you on this program. But simply put, how can Hillary possibly keep her status and possibly keep the number one nod for the nomination with all the dirty background, all the trash on the floor, everything that's laying right behind her and nobody's investigating?
Well, I would say and let me say to start out with, Zeb, your logic is impeccably right and now I'll tell you where it fails, and that is that we forget that Democrats don't care about morality. They don't care about what's right and wrong. They want what they want. And I'm speaking of the Democrat Party, not the average workaday person out in America who happens to still vote for Democrat and always has, that doesn't really realize how their party has been hijacked. And so because of that, and because the media, and by media I mean the mainstream media, are predominantly Democrat, like 99%, they cover up, and so the average American doesn't even know what's going on with Hillary. You and I know it. Most of your listeners do because they're seeking answers. But most Americans don't even know what's happening. They don't even care. And so I think that plays in Hillary's favor, although I don't think she's a lock-in for the nomination because everybody said she was in 2008 also, and they circumvented her and brought Obama in. So it's hard to see what will happen. But I think that the other thing, the other side of this, though, is that the party may feel she's owed this. Supposedly they've lined up between $2 and $2.5 billion for her campaign, which is an amazing amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will tell you also, I heard this morning, I had not heard this till this morning, but I heard this morning that the Jeb Bush's campaign has now lined up commitments for $1.5 billion for his campaign. So, in that sense, you're talking about two monster financially backed monstrous candidacies that will be hard for anybody to fight unless somebody can raise that kind of money. And I'm not trying to go back to Trump, but obviously he's the only guy who's got that kind of money to do it.
Absolutely. You know, when you talk about this political scene right now, and whether it's Trump, whether it's Ted Cruz, whether it's Mitch McConnell we've been talking about, or whether it's Hillary Clinton, the overlying problem, the big cloud on the landscape is still this current administration for another year and a half, and that's Barack Hussein Obama. This man with his pen and his phone and his executive orders, I said earlier this morning, and I maintain, we ain't seen nothing yet as far as the dangers that this man can still create before he leaves office.
No, I think you're absolutely right. We know he's doing things behind the scenes. We've heard of things recently. A database he's set up that is measuring the whole country by race, and it'll have everything from every credit card purchase you make to every detail about your life in this database that the government intends to use with how they handle citizens. He's going to have a long-lasting impact, even long after he's gone. And I think you're absolutely right. One of the problems right now, and I think he knows this is his advantage, is that people are starting to focus on the next presidency. And as they do more of that, they'll pay less attention to him, which means he will get away with more because they won't be watching. And this is what's really, really dangerous. This man is a dangerous, dangerous man. And it amazes me that people are still saying, we're about to lose our country. We lost our country. The fight now is to get it back before it's too late to get it back. And my fear, Zeb, is the president still could do some things that could dramatically impact the next election and keep, let me not use the word Republicans, keep conservatives from ever having a chance of having control in our country again. And we are at a crisis point. And this is why I've been harping all along that, this is our last chance, and it is critically important, not just the presidency, but all levels of government, for us to be getting people out there and getting them involved, getting them elected to office. And, I'm to the point on a federal level, we pretty much need to replace most of them, because clearly the Republican Party has shown us they're not going to do what we've been elected them to do. First they said, we can't do anything, we need to control the House. We give them the House. Then they said, we can't do anything, we need the Senate. We give them the Senate. They still can't do anything, because now they say they need the White House. This is ridiculous. There's no reason for it, and it's time for us to move these people out and move good people in.
Doug, I think I'd like to have you toot your horn a little bit. Known author and blogster, if you will, with the Horse Sense blog. What else is going on in your life right now? Are you still planning on writing another book, or what's happening over there?
No, I have no plans to write another book. I was asked some time ago to write a book as a follow-up to No Tomorrows, which still sells pretty well, surprisingly, being that it's 4 years old. But I started to write one. It was actually called America's Twilight. I actually had a title for it. Even had the book cover designed. And got about halfway into the book and stopped. Because, Zeb, what I found was that all I was doing is what most authors do, political authors. And I'm not picking on other guests you may or may not have. But people make these rounds, and those of us who are pundits who are on programs, and we constantly make rounds, and they've always got a new book. John Doe, author, has his new book out, and it's just a rehash of the same old stuff.
I agree.
And as I look at it, and I said, in good conscience, I can't put out the same story again, and I can't say that something's changed, because the things I said are wrong with America are wrong. In fact, my book has been proven right, and the solutions have been proven right, and so I just decided, no, I wouldn't do that. Plus, frankly, I committed all the resources that came from that book have gone back into promoting it and into trying to help turn this country around. I went for a number of years with no income, and really need to get my business back. Have started to focus back on my business. I have a lot going on there, so I really started to do that. I still do some of this writing, and as I think you know, a couple months ago, I was approached by barbwire.com, which is a wonderful website, and I've been approached over time by various people, but this was the first time I ever actually was willing to say, yes, I will write for you. At this point, they simply publish my blog posts, but if I can ever develop the time, I may do some other op-eds for them. I just haven't gotten to that point yet.
Dear friend, and we've never even met each other yet. We've got to get together with our wives and have dinner someplace sometime. Doug Johnson, Colorado, God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Thank you. I really appreciate him coming on the air every week on Mondays, Doug Johnson. Holy cow, we got to pay some bills. Big fair at the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo. August, actually the 3rd, all the way through the 8th. Holy cow, on Monday the 3rd, they're going to have a great big 4-H horse show. And then on Tuesday, the 4th, 5th, and 6th, the PRCA Rodeo at the Jerome County Rodeo Grounds, along with all the other activities, the carnival and all the 4-H, all the FFA, everything. And then on Friday night, they're going to have on August 7th, the pig wrestling and tug of war. And on Saturday night, August 8th, the great big monster trucks. All of this and much, much more at a great county fair, the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo, August 3rd, all the way through the 8th. Don't you miss it. Hey, by the way, too, don't forget, let's ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. This is where the fun is sold. You be sure and stop in and see those good folks today. They've got all your watercraft, and the way it's raining out here sometimes this morning, I think we can use that in a little puddle. Anyway, they've got all the watercraft, and they've got all the ATVs. Oh, what a selection. Oh, what a selection. You're going to love it. And all the accessories, and if you need them, a great service department, too. You're going to love these folks. Let's ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn. Yep, where the fun is sold. Let's ride. Really, really good folks. All right. Also, I want to remind you, when you're over in that area, don't forget our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I'm going to give you the number in a minute so you can call and make a appointment to make sure you're protected, whether it's life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They know. They're accessible and devoted to serving you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. The number to call, 436-4424. Right now, let's go to the phone lines, and we have with us a lovely lady with the Alliance Defending Freedom, Carrie Kupek. Good morning, Carrie. How are you?
Doing well, Zeb. How about yourself?
Well, kind of a chilly July morning here, with highs right now only in the 50s and a little bit of moisture, but the sun's supposed to pop out tomorrow.
Very nice.
Carrie, what are some of the stories and cases that we're going to be discussing this morning on behalf of the Alliance Defending Freedom?
We're going to talk about the Obamacare abortion pill mandate. Unfortunately, it's continuing to rear its ugly head, and I have two separate situations I want to talk to you about today.
Okay.
The first one is Alliance Defending Freedom just filed a petition with the United States Supreme Court to take a look at a case involving 4 Christian universities in Oklahoma. This is in the 10th Circuit. Now, a lot of people are familiar with this ruling because Little Sisters of the Poor are also falling within this ruling. But we also have a simultaneous case going on with 4 Christian universities being subjected to the same mandate that forces employers, regardless of their religious or moral convictions, to provide insurance coverage for abortion-inducing drugs, sterilization, and contraception, and will be heavily fined and punished if they fail to do so. So on July 14th, unfortunately, the 10th Circuit upheld the abortion pill mandate with respect to all the states and the nonprofits that fall within the 10th Circuit. So our clients are 4 universities: Southern Nazarene University, Oklahoma Wesleyan University, Oklahoma Baptist University, and Mid-America Christian University. And the bottom line is, it's ridiculous that the United States government is forcing Christian universities to violate the very faith that they teach and espouse by forcing them to cover abortion pills and sterilization and contraception within their plans for both their employees and their students. It's crazy. And so we're asking the Supreme Court to take a look at these cases and say, please look at this and ensure that people of faith will not be punished for making decisions that are consistent with that faith.
You know, Carrie, when you look back prior to this Obama administration, before 2008, did you honestly ever anticipate that we would be at this point today with government acting like thugs and absolutely demanding that we give up our Christian beliefs and our moral values? Did you ever anticipate in such a short period of time we would be faced with this?
No, I didn't. And the way they're going about it with respect specifically to these religious nonprofits is deceptive, because you'll see in the media the Obama administration is arguing that, well, these religious nonprofits, they're not really participating in distributing these abortion pills because all they need to do is sign and submit a quote-unquote accommodation form, and that basically protects them. But in reality, that's not at all what's going on. If you look at the form and you look at the way this all works, essentially what the Obama administration is doing is using religious nonprofit insurance plans as drug mules to carry their drugs for them and distribute it, because it's still connected to the insurance plan. Regardless if you're using a third-party administrator, you still have to authorize that third-party administrator, and solely for the purpose of providing these items. So the best analogy really is like a drug mule. If the Obama administration would like to provide these abortion-inducing drugs, there are other ways to go about doing so. If they want to do it, they need to figure out a way that they can directly provide them. But they shouldn't be hijacking religious nonprofit insurance plans and coercing them against their very mission to which they, as how they operate, and making them provide these drugs. It's unjust, it's un-American, and it's surprising to me that they have continued to double down in this way. And the so-called accommodations they've made are not. They're just not that so, because they're still using these plans.
You know, Carrie, I know this is an overview and a reach from what we're talking about this morning, but, you know, when you hang the sign up in front of a business that says we refuse the right to service with people no shirt, no shoes, no service, that type of thing, that's going to be thrown out before too long. Anything goes as long as it's mandated by the government. You have no protections. You can't run your business the way you want. You can't have personal convictions as far as your belief in your religion, etc. I mean, I'm 67 years old. I never thought I would live to see the day that this country turned into a Gestapo tactic of demanding and absolutely forcing you to go against your faith.
You're absolutely right. And to speak to that point even more directly is the case that we have in Washington State. And this is another case that I wanted to talk about with you today, also with respect to, well, it's actually the abortion pill. It's not actually the Obamacare abortion pill mandate, but it's still the same drug. And this is Stormins v. Wiseman. And we've talked about this before on your show. And this is Ralph's Thriftway, a store that Kevin Storman's family has owned for 4 generations, a family business, a family pharmacy. Now, in 2007, the Washington State Pharmacy Board mandated that pharmacies like Ralph's Thriftway stock and dispense these abortion pills if requested by a patient. But let me give you a little background on why that happened. The State Pharmacy Board didn't want to pass these regulations, but at the time, Washington's governor and Planned Parenthood, a name we've been hearing a lot of in the news lately, began pressuring the board to prohibit religiously motivated referrals for these abortion pills. The board resisted, and they unanimously agreed to continue supporting referrals for religious reasons. Now let's talk about referrals for a minute. I didn't know this until I started delving into these cases, but state pharmacy boards allow referrals for all sorts of reasons. In fact, in 49 of the 50 states, and obviously Washington is the Lone Ranger, they do allow all kinds of referrals, including ones for conscience and religious reasons. While Planned Parenthood continued to pressure this board, the governor actually refused to reappoint the pharmacy board member and instead reappointed 2 members that Planned Parenthood recommended. And next thing you know, the board was forcing stores like Ralph's Thriftways to carry drugs against their conscience, despite the fact that there was no evidence that any woman in Washington state had ever been denied timely access to these drugs. There was even a 12-day bench trial in 2012 where the district court itself found that the regulations that this board had enacted were specifically aimed and targeted at family businesses who are religious, like the Stormans. Well, the Ninth Circuit unfortunately upheld these pharmacy board regulations, which is just such a gross injustice against the conscience and, heart of really any family business owner of a pharmacy. And so we will be appealing that decision.
It just seems like every day, every minute, every hour, there is something new to attack our beliefs, our moral values, everything that we stand for or used to stand for in this country. And you mentioned, I can't let you go this morning unless I have another comment about Planned Parenthood. Now that they've had time, if you will, since those videos have come out showing the heinous aspects of Planned Parenthood, now they're turning around and they're blaming what they call a militant right wing for distorting facts and creating a false video. And they're saying they were highly edited and they're getting public support for this. Planned Parenthood is nothing more than a trash organization the way they're handling this.
It's unbelievable. Especially, there are so many problems with this sad sort of damage control they're trying to attempt. When they talk about the edited videos, it's ridiculous because the Center for Medical Progress, and that's the organization that has made these videos, they have released the unedited versions of these videos within 30 seconds of the edited ones. And anybody can go to Center for Medical Progress's YouTube page and watch all 3 hours if they want to. In fact, they're more, indicting probably than the edited ones. So that's a problem. And it's, they're talking about, this is a well-funded attempt to, deceptively or discredit us. Well-funded. Planned Parenthood is, America's big abortion machine. It's ridiculous. And again, let's talk about this case I was just talking about with respect to Planned Parenthood. Do you know that within 5 miles of Ralph's Thriftway, there are 33 pharmacies stocking these abortion pills? Yet, Planned Parenthood was determined to force this little family business to violate their conscience, to violate the faith according to which they operate, and force them to provide, these drugs to the public within their stores, despite the fact that Washington State allows pharmacies to refer for all kinds of reasons. The agenda of Planned Parenthood is so apparent, and it's evil. It really is. And I really hope that when we appeal this case that, the appellate court looks at the district court ruling, which said, these regulations were intentionally created to target businesses like Ralph's Thriftway, to target religious business owners. The court recognized the collusion of Planned Parenthood and the government, the political corruption. So we will see what happens there.
And also, Carrie, I want to mention that there's guilt to be had on both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat. And I really, really point my finger at Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell because he actually has blocked defunding of Planned Parenthood and Kate's Law. And I'm pointing my finger at the Republicans as much as I am at the Democrats for not upholding and trying to restore some value of morality in this country.
All Senator Mitch McConnell had to do was allow the vote. He just had to allow it. It's not that he even had to take it. He didn't even have to vote himself per se. I mean, he could have, right? the thing, what he blocked was even allowing a vote on the amendment for defunding Planned Parenthood, that they would have attached to that highway bill. And he couldn't even do that. It's really, but he allowed the, XIM bank bill, because at the end of the day, it's money is what matters to Americans more than, in a lot of ways, life. And it's really something that's so upsetting, the fact that he could just not allow this amendment to go to a vote.
Absolutely. Let me ask you one other real quick question. I'm almost out of time. Planned Parenthood President Cecile Richards, in turning this thing around, she made this statement. I want you to comment on this. I think this is her talking. I think what's not told is that, of course, these are highly selectively edited videos. The folks behind this, in fact, are part of the most militant wing of the anti-abortion movement that has been behind the bombing of clinics, the murder of doctors in their homes, and in their churches, and that's what exactly needs to be looked at. How dare this woman say this in regards to people exposing the heinous acts at Planned Parenthood?
Right, militant. Talk about extremist.
Yeah.
In my opinion, extremist is a doctor casually chewing on a salad and sipping on wine and discussing the sale of body parts and ways to perform abortions in less crunchy ways and in ways that will preserve body organs for sale. Talk about extreme. It's unbelievable.
It is. Carrie Kupek, God bless you, with, of course, the Alliance Defending Freedom. Tell everyone how they can follow these cases, please.
They can go to adslegal.org. That's our new address for our website, and they can get all the information they need by going there.
Carrie, God bless you, and thank you for all you do, and I always look forward to Mondays. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Deb.
All right, take care. Thank you very much. Carrie Kupek with, of course, the Alliance Defending Freedom. Hey, we've got to get the weather in here, and the weather is brought to you this hour by Duck Uglies at 163 West Highway 30 in Burley, and you stop in for a delicious meal. I'm telling you what, they've got breakfast burritos. Have you had one of those breakfast burritos? Absolutely knock your socks off delicious, Monday through Friday. And don't forget, on Friday nights, they've got a ribeye steak special with shrimp, and on Saturday night, delicious, mouth-watering ribs, along with all the other menu choices. It's fantastic, and great entertainment, too, at Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. And right now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we kick off the final work week of July. And honestly, today is not going to be that great of a day. Doesn't even feel like summer, really. Winds out of the west 20 to 30 miles an hour, 60% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms throughout the day. Only a high of 68 tonight, expect a low near 42. Now tomorrow, going to be completely different. Winds are going to die down out of the southwest to about 5 miles an hour. Sunny skies, high of 74 with an overnight low of 44. As we make our way through the week, it's going to get warmer. Wednesday, sunny and 83. Thursday, sunny and 90. By Friday, could see sunny and mid-90s. That's your weather forecast for Zebedee.
Thank you, Gina. I appreciate it. And right now, again, thanks to Duck Uglies at 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. Great meals and super entertainment at Duck Uglies. Right now, we're going to visit with my dear, dear friend, Ron Ellis with BASF, committed to successful agriculture for you to grow bigger and better crops. Good morning, Ron Ellis. How are you?
Well, good morning, Zeb. I've taken your recommendation. I'm in a field out west of Idle Falls in the Osgood area, and I pointed my pickup directly towards Burley. I hope the reception's okay.
You're doing great. Just sit real still and don't get nervous and mad like I do and start jumping up and down. You're doing great. Ron, what about this weather? Man alive, this morning, I mean, as we're speaking, it's in the very, very low 60s, and they're calling for more wet, rainy weather. What's this doing to our crops? What's happening?
Well, as the saga continues, as we discussed over the last couple of weeks for this concern over late blight in these potatoes, and most of our growers have taken a very aggressive stand, to try to curb this disease off. But what happens, this is just a perfect dynamic for the disease, these kind of winds and the cooler weather, and especially with rains, and you'll get swirling winds come around, and you might have what we refer to as spore shower. For example, the wind may travel over a field that's loaded with inoculum and pick those spores up, and then they end up being windborne to wherever that wind's going to deposit them, so they can move from point A to point B and just miles away. And that's a concern, especially with the cooler, damp conditions. Now, as the weather warms up towards the end of the week, and if we get warm winds, then that helps curb and slow down the sporulation of the disease. So that would be in the grower's favor.
Let me ask you this, Ron, and I'm not a farmer. You've forgot more about farming than I'll ever know. And but what about potato growers? Let's talk a little bit about this. How do they possibly, with literally thousands of acres of potatoes, how do they check everything to see that those spores haven't started in their crop? What do they do? I mean, literally, how can they go row to row?
Well, yeah, they can do that, and it's usually pockets. They'll see hot spots that develop in the field. They'll see lesions on the leaves. This time of year they're very concerned about early blight as well, and gray mold and those kind of things. But the big attack organism is the late blight, because they can keep the others at bay pretty good, but they've got to have protection on that plant for late blight. So yeah, it's field observation. It's the field men from the different companies that they work with. The ag dealers and themselves, and they pay pretty much attention to their fields and observation, and whenever you see a pocket that looks different, discoloration, yellowing or browning, and then they get out and walk in those areas. So that's basically where they start detecting it, is in those kind of areas where they'll detect a difference in the growth of the leaves or the different lesions on the tissues. You're right, they can't walk every acre, but so it's just good field observation from many hands. And
then what happens then, Ron? Give us the scenario. They find the problem, late blight. Their field men are on top of it and everything. Then they call in the heavy forces. What do they do at that point?
Yeah, that's generally it. They've done a good job protecting their crop to this point. They've put protectants on, which helps with the early blight, and then of course it helps prevent a little bit of the spread of the late blight. But once you get late blight in a field, then they need to switch over to a late blight specific material that really has some reach back, and that's what I mean. Once the spore has developed on the leaf and starts to invade the epidermal tissue, they need a product that can actually help kill that spore and that entrance into the plant. And most of the good late blight products will have a little bit of a reach back, 3 to 5 days, to help kill those spores. And then they also have the ability, once they're on that leaf, the product to help prevent sporulation on the leaf. So yeah, it's just a conversion from some of the protectants they've been using to more of the heavy artillery, if you will, in layman's terms, and in my terms that I understand, to help prevent the spread of the disease.
Ron, I want to take a little time this morning. I hope you don't mind, but there seems to be a lack of respect for agriculture in this country by some of our members that are in government, some of those that are in the House, some of those that are in the Senate, and other countries are not nearly advanced with the research that we have here, especially like with you with BASF. And we produce the safest crops in the world, and quite frankly, we don't know what we're getting from other countries. I'd like you to elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, that's certainly true, Zeb. Every chemical manufacturing company, when bringing a product to the market, spends millions of dollars of research into developing that product, making sure it's going to be have efficacy for the disease that's going to be on the label, making sure that it's a safe compound, ensuring that it's going to be environmentally safe. So millions and millions of dollars in biology and research before it even comes to the market. And then once it gets out of the research development stage, it goes to the technical people in the field, and they work with it on demo plots for a bit to make sure that it's going to do what we say it's going to do in a specific area. So it's got years of research going into it, and like to say that all of those are to meet EPA regulations and restrictions and to produce a safe food supply. And so they're before they even get out of the chute, they've spent millions and millions of dollars on a product to bring it to market. And again, like you say, we actually import stuff from other countries that don't have the regulations and restrictions that we do on our crops here in the country.
Yeah, Ron, let me ask you about that, though, and I think I want to be forthright and honest about things on this program. Without country of origin labeling and really knowing what's going on, I personally don't want to go to the store and come home with something that was made, processed, whatever, in Taiwan or some other foreign country. I want to support American agriculture, and it seems like there's a push to get away with that truth in labeling. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're necessarily wrong, Zeb. I mean, we certainly have within the United States, you know, even products that are coming in, you know, they may not have the same regulations, for example, in some of the other countries that we do here, but there is an inspection process to ensure that our food is safe and you know, for the consumer. Here, though, we go through a much, much stringent regulatory system, and I suppose in some ways the way it was originally brought to be was a good thing, but the American farmer has got so many restrictions. I mean, it's getting worse and worse, not just on crop products, fertilizers and chemicals, but the regulations on irrigation and everything. It's just getting to be a regulatory nightmare for them.
When is enough going to be enough? I mean, you're talking about various subjects that need to be addressed in front of the audience, because I don't care if they live in an ag audience, a rural audience or not, people aren't aware a lot of times as to some of the confining things that are being done to limit and stymie American agriculture. You mentioned irrigation. We mentioned it earlier about the EPA and what they're trying to do. I mean, pretty soon it's going to be almost prohibitive to get out of bed in the morning without getting a call from Washington to allow you to do so. This is ridiculous, and I hope agriculture can fight back.
Yeah, you know, Zeb, I was awful excited in the midway through my career and everything, and just thought it would always be through education. Now I'm not totally convinced that it is. I think that maybe we're going to need some hungry bellies before the word ever hits to where it makes a difference.
You know, tell us a little bit real quickly. I've only got about 2 minutes left in this segment, but BASF, a lot of people, I had a guy call in last week after the program and say, well, what does BASF stand for? And really, what do they do? Give us a quick synopsis, would you, Ron?
Yeah, it's a German-based company. You know, our headquarters is in Ludwigshafen, Germany, for the whole headquarters of the company, but our ag division is in Research Triangle Park in North Carolina, in Raleigh, North Carolina, where other top chemical manufacturers have their home offices there as well. And our division, which is the Ag Chemical Division, is one of the smallest divisions of BASF. They're big into petroleum and pharmaceuticals and paints, and so they're a huge company worldwide for a lot of different divisions.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, every week I learn more about what's going on in the world of agriculture and growing bigger and better crops with BASF and my dear friend Ron Ellis. Ron, if anybody has questions, can they call you and learn more, or what should they do?
Yeah, they sure can, and any questions at all. And then, like I said, we've got a great relationship with all of our ag retailers and field men, and they can certainly get a hold of them. And I'm sure that they've been staying right on top of it with this late flight thing and concerns that are going to be coming down the road in the beets with the mildew and the beans with mold. So these guys are going to be busy for another month and a half.
All right, my good friend Ron Ellis, and I thank you for taking the time. And by the way, looking directly towards our area and holding that phone still, you are the shining knight in white armor. I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you.
I want to be somebody shining in white armor.
God bless you, Ron. Thanks so much. That segment brought to you by BASF, committed to successful agriculture. And our dear friend, Mr. Ron Ellis, at 431-6776. You give him a call or contact your field men and representatives for all the great products to help your crops with BASF. We are going to take a little break. And by the way, I want to give an apology. I said something during the interview with Doug Johnson, and I was wrong, and I'll admit it when I'm wrong. I was thinking about Major Garrett going to CBS News. Major used to be with Fox News and went to CBS, and I apologize. My dear friend Doug was absolutely correct on the Jake Tapper pepper story, and I wanted to say that. Calls will be welcome right after we come back in about 6 minutes, and the news next from CBS. Don't you go away. Oh, good morning. Welcome back. Kind of a chilly day out there today, and this doesn't feel like July to me. It feels more like October. Right now, I've got 54 degrees here at my place, and a little bit soggy out there this morning. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Get rid of your garbage. 734-6969. And our thanks to Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valley Wide Home and Ranch. Hey, by the by, Ted's Diesel and Electric is moving. They're packing up right now and getting ready for the big move to 635 21st Street in Heyburn, right there on Alfresco Road. Owned by Doug Martin, a good old boy right there. And Doug can rebuild starters, alternators, generators, everything from lawnmowers all the way to big locomotives. I'll tell you what, and also sells brand new. Ted's Diesel and Electric, moving to 635 21st Street in Heyburn. Oh, and by the way, if you're a little bit hungry, if you're like me, I'm a lot hungry right now this morning. Get up at 4 o'clock and have a little bitty bowl of cereal. Boy, about this time I'm hungry. Well, don't forget the Chadwick Sports Grill at 139 West Main in Burley. And today, one of my favorite all-time lunches, bar none. Grilled bratwurst, served with sautéed onions and peppers over pasta with marinara sauce. Oh my! Look out. With garlic toast and super salad. Going to be absolutely fantastic. Grilled brats. Sounds great, along with all the other great menu choices at, of course, the Chadwick Sports Grill at 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in for lunch today. Well, one of my favorite people to have on this program is back here this morning, and I want to say a good morning to Dr. Gerard Lamero. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I am doing great, and boy, that food sounds good. I'm ready to go to lunch.
Well, I tell you what, I'll flip you for it. You pay for the plane fare, I'll buy lunch. How's that?
Well, I think it'd be fun to have lunch with you.
Well, I tell you what, I read your piece about should Trump be the number one issue in the presidential election, and first and foremost, let me ask you this. I believe, and I'm an old guy, I'm 67 years old, doctor, but never in my 67 years do I remember politics being turned upside down and kind of slit down the middle and laid bare for the public to take a look at it like I have with the running of Donald Trump for the presidency. He has taken a lot of these people, whether it's Rick Perry or whether it's Lindsey Graham, he's put them on the defensive with his very open and blatant approach to politics. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you, he really has sparked the race in terms of getting a lot of people thinking. I think he has struck a chord with a lot of folks because, as I talk all around the country on lots of radio stations and that, I find, and talk, in person as well, I find that people are angry, upset, and frustrated at the way the country is being run today. They don't like to see the American president bow to a Saudi king. You remember that story years ago? Mm-hmm. They don't like seeing what's happening right now with the border. And people just willy-nilly walking across the border and coming into the U.S. without signing any papers or doing things the legal way. And he has struck a chord, and people love the fact that he calls a spade, and they like it. And, of course, I'm not certain he's the best person to be president. I mean, there are people who are probably more conservative than him, but he has certainly shown that he's a leader. That's for sure.
Let me ask you this, Doctor, and I highly respect your opinion because you've been invited back many, many times. Is he a thorn under the saddle of the rest of the GOP so that the animosity and the absolute bickering is going to cause maybe the Democrats to gain more traction? Is there a thought there that you'd like to expand on?
Well, I don't think he's going to impact the election in a negative way in the long run. I think he's, upset the polling right now, and a lot of good people who are running are not getting the publicity. But I think that's about to change. We're going to start having some debates. They're going to have to talk about issues. And I think when they start talking about issues, we're going to see who the true conservatives are. Trump really makes his points about the fence and making Mexico pay for it. People love hearing that. But there are a lot of other issues, too, that are critical, and I think he's not going to sit as well with the American people on all the issues. I'm not for him or against him. He'd be better than what we have now. But what I'm saying is I think in comparison to other conservatives, he may not play as well in the long run.
I would say this, and this again is speculative. Nobody can confirm or deny this, but I'd like your opinion. I would have much rather had a person representing or Trump himself in the Iranian nuclear deals. I would have imagined that Trump would have walked in the door, sat down, looked Iran in the eye, and said, okay, I'm looking at my watch. In 10 minutes, we want our political prisoners and the other Marine, etc., released. We want them at an embassy. We will not start negotiation until this is done. End of story.
I think he's probably one of the best negotiators in the country, if not in the world, and I agree with you 100%. I think that we would be doing a whole lot better in the world if he were president negotiating on our behalf, or even if he weren't president, he was just our negotiator. We would do a lot better. So I'm with you on that. But I think the presidency is a big job. It encompasses many other aspects and I think we have to look at all those aspects.
Well, let's look at some of those that you outlined in the last piece that I received. And one of the big things I'm concerned about, and I talk about it every day, is national security. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm looking at things and maybe I'm jaded in my opinion, but I don't see us, the United States, being concerned about us, our security. This president has just absolutely had kind of a Swiss cheese approach to anything protecting us, and I'm scared. Do I have a right to be?
I think you have a good right to be worried for this country. I think a lot of us are. I'm very worried about it. We have the ISIS terrorists who are on our southern border there. We know there's a camp right near Texas, and they claim that they have their soldiers. They call them soldiers in 15 states in the United States who are ready to attack us. And for all we know, maybe that fellow who shot the military men recently, maybe he was one of them, for all we know. And what do? We have people shooting and stuff, and then they try to find excuses. Maybe he wasn't raised right by his parents. Well, give me a break. I mean, let's face it, this guy's shooting American military personnel. That concerns me. It concerns me that we're not letting our military in the recruiting places and that have weapons. Why not? Why can't they protect themselves from people who are either lunatics or they're ISIS terrorists or some other form of terrorist? So I think that's important, and there are a lot of other issues, too, in the military we could talk about. Our national security is at risk, and this president doesn't seem to worry about it.
Doctor, I absolutely am against an open-door refugee influx of people coming in from the Middle East. They are not vetted. They do not know who they are. They're coming from countries that are war-torn. They have no idea on the computer who they are, who the uncles are, who the aunts are, etc. I am very concerned that we are giving a free pass for a lot of the problems to come here to America, and I'm sick and tired of all of a sudden saying, oh, well, you just sit there, we know what we're doing, and the government will take care of you. I don't like this. I'm afraid of it.
Yeah, I think that's a real issue, too. everybody in the world would like to live in the United States. I mean, this is the greatest country in the world. We built the greatest economy because we had the greatest amount of freedom, and when you give people freedom, they do great things with it. That's the whole American approach to living. And sure, everybody in the world, they come from backward countries where they don't have medical facilities, they don't have jobs, they don't have drinking water in some cases. Everybody would like to be here, but we can't have 7 billion people in the world living in the United States. It just would swamp our system. They'd have to come in gradually, and you couldn't possibly have that many. So I think it's ridiculous to just let people keep coming across the borders with their diseases. Some of them are terrorists, some of them are criminals. Obviously, they're not all bad people. Some of them are just plain dirt poor. And yet, how do we handle this influx? And why aren't we following our laws? We're a nation of laws. And why do we not follow our immigration laws?
Absolutely. I want to talk about the economy. Now, I'm going to say this, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong. I've got big shoulders. Here we are in this country. We're more concerned today about raising the minimum wage at low-level entry jobs than we are about building companies and creating more wealth and creating more good jobs. Am I wrong? I want to see more growth and more entrepreneurs. I'm not that concerned about raising the minimum wage.
Well, I'm 100% with you on that, too. Right now, there are over 93 million Americans who are working age. That means people who can work who are not working because they have no jobs. A lot of people are also working part-time jobs because they can't get a full-time job. Now, why is that? Well, a lot of it's regulations that make it hard to start businesses. Sometimes it's Obamacare because they know if they go over 30 hours, oh boy, then they get hit. You know, they have to get them with the health insurance. But unfortunately, they can't pay the premiums. Obamacare is socialized medicine, and that helps to prevent employers from hiring people. And by the way, the minimum wage is having some really strange effects. Did you know that in some places where they have this higher and higher minimum wage, what's happening, it's really amazing. People are saying, okay, thanks for the more dollars per hour, but guess what? We're going to work less. So some employers are finding the employees don't want to work as much. They're only going to work up to a certain amount of money because their welfare benefits will turn off, and they want their welfare benefits. So how's that?
Doctor, how can we, and I've said this on my radio program for years, I said that we need a step-graded approach to welfare to those that are absolutely leeches on the system. After 60 days, if you don't have a job, you get a 30-day warning and you're cut off entirely if you're too lazy to work and be a contributing asset to our economy. How can we turn this welfare system back only to those that need it for a temporary time?
Right. Well, the answer is we can do it. We did it in the 1990s. Remember back in the days of Newt Gingrich and when they made it you had to work if you can work, and they found that, boy, people got off welfare pretty quick. And that's an incentive. But, you know, this president has done the opposite. He said, no, they don't have to work at all. And he's, I believe, ignoring one of our laws. And so, once again, we have the problem of progressive socialists running the country who think that everybody's entitled to a free lunch.
Absolutely.
And there is no such thing as a free lunch.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeff. It brings us to mind when you're talking about the minimum wage that they've raised for fast food restaurants to $15 an hour or such. I have heard from people in Washington State and by Oregon way, they've taken all but 3 people out of the restaurant, and you order using a kiosk. You run your card, put your cash in the machine. There's no person there to give it to you. Take your order. And it's all computerized, and when they get done, when your food is prepared, they bring it to you and turn around and walk away. I mean, that's it. There's no more human interaction at the counter. It's all done by a kiosk.
All right, we're going to have Doctor talk about that. Dr. Lamero, what about that?
We know from economics, from years and years and years of studies and everything, research, And that is, when you have a minimum wage, you're going to discourage people, employers, from jobs. Because basically, an employer pays somebody because by paying that person, the company can make more money. And if they have to pay such a high price for that cost of labor, it turns out they can't make money. In fact, some of them actually start losing money and maybe have to close up their shop. There are a lot of restaurants that are probably going to close as a result of the $15 an hour minimum wage. We know minimum wage doesn't work. It just doesn't work at all. People should get paid whatever they produce. And if they produce more, great, pay them more.
You know, Doctor,
that's the way the economy works.
In the time remaining, I want to talk to you, and I'm not trying to be at all facetious. This actually happened this morning, and I'm sure you heard of it. Over the weekend, a Florida man was barbecuing in his backyard, and all of a sudden, a city representative knocked on the door and gave him a ticket because the smoke from his barbecue grill and the odors had left his property and were out going to the neighbors. We have lost our freedoms, and as far as I'm concerned, we've lost our common sense and our minds the way the government is trying to come in and take away everything. Would you agree?
Well, I'm totally with you on that, too. Our freedoms are under attack constantly from all sorts of directions. One of the biggest things is nobody's supposed to say anything. We're not allowed to talk about illegal immigration because that might offend somebody. We're not allowed to talk about our religion because that might offend some atheists, if you can find one. There aren't nearly as many as there are believers in God. And on and on and on and on, our freedoms are being curtailed. And by the way, I wrote a great book, I think, personally, on renewing America and its heritage of freedom, and it details a lot of that and what we need to do about it, because we need to take back our freedom. That's what made America a great nation.
Well, Doctor, what about, I've got about 3 minutes left here, and I want to talk a little bit about the EPA. Here is an organization, actually kind of a mafia, that has powers that they've bestowed upon themselves, and now with what they're going to do with water and other issues, they basically can run and ruin agriculture in this country.
True. Absolutely, and we have to rein them in, too. The regulatory state has gotten just ridiculous. I mean, unfortunately, Congress has delegated too much power to these agencies, and they let them go off and set regulations. All regulations should somehow go through Congress, and if we don't like them, and they're stupid, and they're exaggerated, and they hurt farmers, or they hurt ranchers, or they hurt businessmen, we need to have those people say, okay, let's get rid of those regulations, and then if the congressmen don't get rid of them, we should get rid of them and find new congresspeople.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a quick question. Go ahead, caller, please.
Yes, good morning, Zeb and guest. Do you feel that the reason why we're having so many problems is that the Republican Party, in order to stay in power, is going to have to cave into the Latino vote, and maybe a third party would be the answer, like Trump says?
Good question. Go ahead, Doctor.
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me tell you something. I went back this year to 1789, and I studied every critical election, presidential election since then. And what I found is Americans will put up with a bad political party or a political party that doesn't live up to what they've been voted to do for a while. But after a while, they get angry, and it's happened over and over again. Like, you probably don't remember the Whig Party. They used to exist. They changed.
That's right.
It turns out the American voter gets upset when people get elected to office and don't live up to what they're supposed to. And a lot of people in recent years have said they're conservative. They get to Washington, and they forget who elected them and what they want them to vote for. And let me tell you, changes are coming. And I've got a new book I'm working on, and it'll be out in January, and it'll tell more about what I think is going to be happening next year.
Let me ask you about your book, Renewing America and Its Heritage of Freedom. How can everybody get a copy? Where is it available?
Well, Amazon is where most people buy it, I think. It's available in print. It's about 340 pages, and it's also available in Kindle for a lot lower price because those electronic books are cheaper, I guess, to sell. So it's available there in those two places, Renewing America and Its Heritage of Freedom. It's a great book on freedom, and I know you'll love it. And I'm not just saying it because I wrote it. I'm saying it because I've read a lot of books on freedom, and I like it compared to some of the others.
You know,
I hope they read it.
Doctor, final thought here. We sound negative when we're talking about all the pitfalls and problems in politics, but after having you on the program many times, there is a light at the end of the tunnel that you feel we can still turn this country around. Is that correct?
Absolutely. One thing that I strongly believe in my heart is the American people are the best people in the world. They work hard, they love their country, they love their kids, they love freedom. And you know what? In my study of all these presidential elections that have been critical over the history of the country, they always come back for freedom and morality. That's what they want in their government. And you will see we elect a solid conservative next year as president.
I really enjoy having you on the air. You're welcome here anytime. Dr. Gerard Lameiro, thank you. God bless. In his book, Renewing America and Its Heritage of Freedom. Thank you, sir, and come back again soon.
I will. God bless you too, and God bless America.
Thank you very, very much. Very enjoyable guest, and every time I get him on the air, I feel inspired because he's got a great outlook and attitude about what's going on, what can be changed, and how we can do it. Thank you very much. Oh my, we've got to pay some bills here. Remember on Thursdays that we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and I am so blessed. We had two sponsors jump in and volunteer to sponsor that from the get-go, and they were A Child's World and Ambulatory Surgery Center. At A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, don't forget they've got all the different play outfits, and they've got all the baby outfits, and they've got 5-piece suits up to size 20 for about $59. Oh my goodness sakes. All of this and the games, everything for the families right there at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And Ambulatory Surgery Center. Knee pain, you might need arthroscopic surgery, maybe carpal tunnel surgery, or maybe you need a colonoscopy. Well, save money and services performed by highly qualified doctors at the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley. The number to call for information, 677-8888. And the Ambulatory Surgery Center, along with the Child's World, serving you and bringing us on Thursdays, school days in Cassia County. Appreciate that. Let me see. I've got another note. Do I have anything? Oh, yes. I need to get this on here real quick this morning. Tonight at Canyon View Baptist Church in Filer at 7 p.m., an Iranian-American pastor, Shahram Hadian, will be speaking about the dangers of Islam. And it's going to be very, very interesting tonight. And then tomorrow night, he'll be at the Eastside Baptist Church in Twin Falls, also at 7 p.m., talking about unveiling the true face of Islam, a wake-up call for the world. Very interesting, and that Pastor Shahram Hadian in Twin Falls tonight and tomorrow. Right now, let's have these good words, and we will be back in about 3 minutes. Thank you.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh, thank you very much. And we also want to remind you on Thursdays, another segment that's very popular, and that's Vicky's Country Gardens, right here on Zeb at the Ranch at 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Oh, boy, Vicky does a great job talking about landscaping and gardening and everything available right there at Vicky's Country Gardens. 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Thursdays at 10:32. You tune in and ask your questions. I just had my phone go off, and let's see. Got it. Okay. We're going to go to the phone line right now, and I had this gentleman scheduled a couple of weeks ago, and then he had some health problems. I certainly hope he's feeling better. The Newsbusters managing editor, Mr. Ken Shepard. Ken, good morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I understand that the last time I had you scheduled, you weren't feeling well. I hope all that's behind you.
It is. That was not a good time.
Okay. You've got to explain something to me, Ken. I've been in this industry for over 45 years, and I've thought I've heard everything, both silly, facetious, and truthful. But when presidential candidate on the Democratic ticket, Martin O'Malley, said something like Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, that's a very profound statement and very true, but the liberal left and some of these goonies came out of the woodwork and they criticized him. What is wrong with saying all lives matter?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong at all with saying it, but yeah, the radical left, this is what you see with the radical left. It's classic identity politics. It's the sort of identity politics that I think used to be mostly cloistered in college campuses, and it's still most prevalent in college campuses, but now it's really come out of the woodwork in the Obama era and become more I don't want to say mainstream. I think most people still reject it, but it's becoming more mainstream in the sense that you're hearing a lot more of it. It's coming out there, and people are, I think, becoming more aware of this nutty left thanks to their activism and social media activism. So I think they're doing us all a favor by exposing themselves for what they are, and I think your average American, political or non-political, can see that and go, these guys are nuts.
Well, yeah, but Ken, help me. I'm an old man. I can't understand how anybody that's civilized whatsoever could take deference with the statement, all lives matter. Explain to me, what in the world was the burr in their saddle blanket?
Well, I mean, keep in mind, this is a left-wing conference, and these were left-wing hecklers at a left-wing conference. So I think what they're trying to do is I think what they would say, well, of course, or whatever would say that white lives matter, and white politicians would say that, blah, 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 and kind of hit and criticize that, for, I guess, Martin O'Malley was mayor of Baltimore, governor of Maryland, and they have some policy grievances with him, but yet to hit that whole to say all lives matter is racist or beyond the pale is ludicrous. But it just shows you, again, it's just a far left wing group, and they're full of identity politics, and they want to stick with their narrative, which is that America is anti, that America is racist institutionally and just irretrievably racist. And that's not the case at all. And certainly race relations and those things have improved markedly over the past, 50 years. But yet you have this left-wing grievance groups that are committed to, making it sound like America's the worst country on the planet.
What do they want? Ken, you'd probably have the answer to this better than most. What do they, the liberal left, these loonies, what do they really want? What do they want to see in black and white? What do they want to hear on the TV news every night? What do they want to hear on the radio? What are they looking for?
I wouldn't, I'm not really an expert in that. I think to the extent that these are far left groups, I think they have a far left agenda, so it could be anything from, just getting the police to, basically stop doing their job assertively, and we see the results of that in cities like Baltimore, where, the police don't want to assertively enforce the law because when they do their job and enforce the law, they get all these protest groups coming at them, and you see the mess that Baltimore and other large cities are deteriorating into because of the Al Sharptons of the world kind of raise a stink whenever anything goes wrong, and they kind of tar the police for the actions of a few. and they rush to judgment, and there's a lot of left-wing rhetoric about social justice and institutional racism and all these things, which really cuts against, real justice. Real justice is, if you've been wronged, then these things get adjudicated in a court of law, and we have facts and evidence and juries of our peers and all these things. And the left, I think, are really showing their colors with this sort of thing. So I think a lot of the radicals really want to redefine what justice is. And it's not the justice of our Constitution equals justice under law. I think it's really motivated by these leftist ideology.
I never thought that political correctness could go this far. I was very naive in my thinking. But political correctness and our death of free speech is far worse than I anticipated. What are your thoughts on this? Can we ever turn this bus around and go back down the street the other way?
I certainly hope so. I think it remains to be seen. I think a lot of our political and social culture is set from the top, and I think it's no surprise that a lot of these things under the Obama administration, it's sort of tone that is set from the top down, and we don't see the classic liberal sort of defense of free speech. It's that's, I think it used to be sort of a hallmark of our political culture that you had right and left agreeing about the primacy of free speech, that unless you have that ethic of, I disagree with what you say, but I fight to the death for your right to say it. Mm-hmm. We can't have a society where people feel that, that they can speak their mind and that they can pursue their dreams. And everything is really tied into the ability to express your opinion, however unpopular it may be. And that the idea that people don't have to accept your beliefs, but they have to accept that you have a right to say those beliefs and advocate for them. And I think it's sad that leftists have really taken over the agenda, and it's no longer that small L liberal dedication to free speech. So, I hope with changing, political winds, I think as more Americans see what's going on, they kind of reject that. But it's pretty much. I think it's a very vocal minority that makes a large stink. So it's up to all of us to speak our minds and to speak up for free speech and to not being bullied out of the marketplace of ideas.
Let me tie in with that last comment you made, and I agree with you 100%, but let me tie in Donald Trump. There are those that naturally think he's brash and arrogant and very conceited. Yes, he's all of those, but one other thing that he is that the others aren't, and that I think is openly honest and very blatant in his attack on what's going wrong with this country. I don't want a paid politician. I don't want somebody that's been sitting in a soft leather chair for 20, 30 years. I want somebody that's going to call a spade, say that the borders are porous, say that we are not going to kowtow to our enemies anymore. And I think that is the magnetizing of people to Donald Trump. Am I wrong?
I think you're right that's why there is a lot of interest in Trump. And you can have certain disagreements with Trump, and I think most all of us probably look at his record. There may be things that we disagree with, and things that he stood for in the past that conservatives especially might disagree with. But the issue is we know that there's a liberal media that is controlling the agenda, that controls what we hear about, and unless there's enough noise and enough critical mass to something from the grassroots in America and from people that have the spotlight and the microphone, you're not going to get attention to things that are going on. So certainly Trump has raised the prominence of issues like the Kate Steinle murder, where this young woman in San Francisco who was killed because there's an illegal immigrant who had been deported numerous times, who had numerous brushes with the law, drug offenses, and all these other things. And San Francisco is a sanctuary city, and you have that sort of thing where a sanctuary city plus illegal immigrants who commit violent or drug crimes, and these things are going to happen, and they wouldn't happen if we enforced the border, and they wouldn't happen if we didn't have sanctuary cities where illegals are going to flock to. So, but that's not an issue the media want to talk about, but they have to talk about it when you've got a guy like Trump out there really blaring the horn on that issue. So that's part of it, is that the media don't want to cover something, but sometimes they have no choice but to cover it if there's enough noise and if there's enough pressure. So it's up to conservatives, it's up to everyday Americans to be really, pushing the envelope and pushing the media. You have to cover this. You need to cover this. Is important. And I think there's a lot of conservative outlets and there's a lot of independent media outlets where people are getting their news from. So that's a good thing today that we didn't have, say, in 1987. When,
absolutely.
The Media Research Center started.
Ken, let me ask you this thought real quick. The debates are just looming right around the corner, the Fox News debates, the first one. And I'll say this, and then you can give me a rebuttal if you don't agree. But I honestly feel that Trump, in that debate, is going to cause the effect of others to have to stand up and make statements where they stand, where they don't stand, and what they stand for, more so than any other time in debate history for politics, because I think he's going to cause an embarrassment factor to the others if they don't speak their mind.
Do that. I think it remains to be seen how what the final polls look like, and the first debate. You only have 10 that will be on stage, and you've got folks at Fox News that I think are going to ask a good mix of questions. So as someone who, as a conservative who I see a lot of good candidates and a lot of good issues that are being raised by many of them, I would certainly like to see, and I think most people like to see, a wide variety of issues discussed. Not least of which is immigration, but you certainly want other issues to be covered. We see like Planned Parenthood and funding of what is the nation's largest abortion bill. And Mr. Trump has spoken to that issue a little bit as well, but the media would prefer to focus on, I think, the immigration angle, because they can try to make it sound as though he's racist, and that kind of fits the identity politics thing. The left want to keep playing identity politics, narrow identity politics, and the left, I think, would like to keep a lot of minorities voting solidly Democrat. When you look at the issues, you broadcast the issues to most folks, and when most folks can weigh the issues and they see conservative positions, I think most folks, white, black, Latino, whatever, see that conservative issues are much better for moving the country forward. And the media, being liberal as they do, kind of like to distract us with racial controversies and other things to keep people from thinking critically about, hey, my taxes are higher, the government's spending into oblivion, the government's not securing the border. So the media want to keep us on these side issue controversies rather than the actual issue.
Absolutely. On the other side of the coin, I got a couple of minutes left here and then I've got to run. Hillary Clinton, she's getting a free pass on all of these issues. All the attention has been on Trump and the infighting with the GOP. What about Hillary and the potential lawsuits, the potential illegalities? Give me a little insight as to what you think about her campaign, and possibly not getting the nomination.
Yeah, it's quite possible that she might not get the nomination. I'm not a primary pundit, but I guess I can play one on radio. So I think what's up with her is that she realizes that the media, by and large, don't want to challenge her, that she has this feeling of inevitability, and that she has relatively weak opponents. When you look at Bernie Sanders is kind of coming on a little strong, but he might be the Howard Dean of this cycle. Martin O'Malley is kind of like no one really knows who he is, and there's a Republican governor who succeeded him. So if he ran his state so well, then a Democratic state, why did voters reject his protege for the guy who was promising to keep spending in line and cut taxes? And so, I mean, there's really not much of a strong competition, and she can kind of afford to do an event here and there, very controlled, grant an interview here and there, and then she basically says, I'm talking to the media because I did this interview, one interview like in 2 weeks. And so I think she knows that the media are not going to aggressively challenge her, that the media would love to rather pick apart all the Republicans. So she's sitting in the catbird seat there, I think, until maybe such time as, I guess the first Democratic debate, if she gets strong, critical questions, if she gets flustered, and if one of her opponents looks good, maybe that might start to move the needle a little bit more. We've already seen her approval ratings going down, so it remains to be seen, and I think it'll be exciting. As a political observer, it is exciting to have a wide-open Republican race, but also a Democratic one that's not in the bag for Hillary. So
absolutely.
We can see both of those.
Absolutely. Ken Shepard, Newsbusters managing editor. You got to come back in the future. Thank you very much for your time on the show this morning. Appreciate your being here.
Well, thanks again for having me.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Enjoyed that conversation all the way from Martin O'Malley and his criticism of saying all lives matter, which I still don't understand the hypocrisy of the left. What a bunch of idiots. And all the way down to Hillary Clinton. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness, it's time for the weather. Actually, it's past time. We got to hurry up and get it in here. The weather is brought to you this hour by our dear friends at Scarrows Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. They're your hometown meat cutter, locally owned custom meat processor for over 20 years, and they guarantee everything they sell. And they've got a hot summer Zeb, back up. There we go. Hot summer barbecue special for just $199. Ribeye, steaks, New York strips, sirloin tips, ground beef, brats, pork chops, everything. Oh, it's delicious. And you're going to love it. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Right now, here is the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we kick off the final work week of July. And honestly, today is not going to be that great of a day. Doesn't even feel like summer, really. Winds out of the west 20 to 30 miles an hour, 60% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms throughout the day. Only a high of 68 tonight, expect a low near 42. Now, tomorrow, it's going to be completely different. Winds are going to die down out of the southwest to about 5 miles an hour. Sunny skies, high of 74 with an overnight low of 44. And as we make our way through the week, it's going to get warmer. Wednesday, sunny and 83. Thursday, sunny and 90. By Friday, could see sunny and mid-90s. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, thank you, Gina. Great job. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, and they are changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. You call them today at 324-7657. Hey, I would appreciate it right now very much if you'd give me a call. I'd love to visit with somebody about any topic right now. All you have to do is call me at 436-2244 or toll-free 1-866-927-4587. So far this morning, we've talked about Planned Parenthood. We've talked about Stone County, Missouri, where the sheriff's officers had "In God We Trust" by their back license plate, and all the atheists were crying foul. You got to take that off. And the sheriff said, no. We've talked about Donald Trump. We've talked about a Florida man barbecuing in his backyard, and some of the odors, delicious odors, and the smoke went over to his neighbors, and he got a ticket. My goodness, give me a call and let me know what your thoughts are. Please, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I can't imagine the stupidity that's going on in this country. Talking about this man in Florida barbecuing, like we did earlier this morning, in his own backyard, and some nerdly curdly walks up to the door, knocks on the door, and says, I'm going to have to give you a ticket because the barbecue smoke and the odors are going out into the public street, and you have to keep them on your own property. Remember about 4 weeks ago, something like that, we had a story about how the EPA was going to try to regulate barbecues. Bingo! Here we go. First story. A man in Florida given a ticket for his barbecue grill smoke and the odors. What are your thoughts? What would you do? What would you do if you're barbecuing in the backyard with your friends, your family, and all of a sudden there was a knock, 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 and we're going to give you a ticket because the odors and the smoke have gone across your property boundaries? What? Be nice. What would you do? Give me a call quickly at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I can think of a whole bunch of scenarios that some of my dear friends would possibly do to that little nerdly curdly that would walk up and try to give them a ticket. None of them are very good. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, I think I would say as long as I've already got the ticket, bring on the bratwurst and the bonfire, because, honey, you're going to smell it for a while.
You know, I like your attitude, lady. You are a member of the Zeb Bell Grilling Club. I love that. Just tell them to stick it politely and keep on grilling those bratwursts. Can you imagine how idiotic this is in America, of all countries, for somebody to do that?
Who in their right mind does not absolutely love the smell of a barbecue? Are you kidding me? I mean, other than to be envious, what is there to whine about?
But you know something? In all seriousness, we knew this was coming because of these absolute mafia types with the EPA. You knew it was going to happen.
Mafia is a good word.
It's the only clean word I could think for them.
Well, I do appreciate you cleaning that up a bit, but I know what you meant.
Well, I'll tell you, I am so incensed to think that somebody as guiltless as this man, just trying to cook a Sunday afternoon meal for his family, and then to get a ticket because the grilling smoke and the odors have gone over his property into a public domain. This is complete lunacy.
I'll be darned. I wonder if he had any green pine boughs he could throw on there.
I don't know, but I agree with you. Let's make it bigger and more sumptuous for everybody. Thank you for your call.
Hey, you have a good day.
God bless you. Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Is that what happens when you don't invite the neighbors when you barbecue?
I'll tell you. Well, you know, that's right. The lady said that just called. She should have made the fire bigger and then grabbed this guy by the arm and said, come on back and have a bratwurst while you write that ticket out. So then when you're finished, I can stick it in the barbecue and burn it up.
Well, I guess that's why I like rural Idaho, where my neighbor's a quarter of a mile away.
You know, in all seriousness, though, sir, you know that this approach by the EPA and other governmental regulations, it's going to become more prominent.
Just need to get the government out of our life. We should be controlling them, not us being controlled by them.
Amen. We the people. God bless you for your call. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. We the people. Absolutely. What would you do if somebody walked up and said, well, I'm sorry, but that steak that's on the grill or those bratwurst, I'm sorry, you're going to have to shut that down because the smoke and the odors are going across the street. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
You know, this is where the HOAs come in. And, you know, they're going to take over large neighborhoods and everything like that. And you're going to see more of this on more of a local level instead of the government.
I agree. I think...
I don't like it. I like a barbecue better than anybody else.
But I think you've touched on something there, Keith. You've touched on something that homeowners associations probably will have their arms twisted by the government or federally regulated groups that say, no barbecuing here because it might contribute to global warming and the odors and the smoke might bother somebody. We're going to see a major push this way. I'll bet you're right.
Yeah, I'd almost spend my life on it. The HOAs are going to become more and more powerful with the government backing them.
I agree. Keith, always good to hear from you. Good point. Thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate it. I got time for one more call. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, absolutely every morning, all the way till night are serving you. I'll tell you what, they have got the best of everything, the best of tires for all your different driving needs, all your vehicles. They've got a free pre-trip safety check. Yes, sirree, visual inspection of tires, tire pressure check, and of course, look at your brakes, your shocks, your struts, and much, much more. They've got the best brake value in the industry with professionally trained technicians and premium quality parts. They really take care of you with the best of front-end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. Oh my, what are you waiting for? Stop in and see the best best today. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Well, let's see what we've got on the program for tomorrow. Oh, my. We have an open forum, naturally, from 8:06 till 9 o'clock. And then one of my favorite segments, we're going to have Frosty Woldridge on the air from Golden, Colorado, and that's going to be at 9:06. And then we're supposed to be having the Iranian-American pastor Shahram Hadian on our program at 9:30 tomorrow, followed by Dr. History and then other guests. We're still going to schedule some more for tomorrow, and we certainly hope you'll tune in. Zeb at the Ranch, right here on K-Bar 1230, and then streaming live all over the universe at zebbell.com. And I want to say thanks to Wheels. Wheels is doing a great job over at our studios, and we'll be talking to him tomorrow morning, and we certainly hope you'll be with us when we saddle the horse at 8:06 and ride till 11. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. You have a great day.